How do you go from fashion illustration to a flat garment sketch? So we've already drawn that fashion illustration in previous videos, and now we need to do our flat garment sketch. The flat garment sketch is more technical, and we will be using the fashion design book to do this. After we draw the front flat sketch, we'll move on to the back, and I'll show you a quick and easy way to do this. We'll also go over resizing those sketches for your portfolio or your personal sketchbook. In this video, I'm using the croquis that's found in the fashion design book. You can download your copy of the croquis through the link in the description below. It's great to have that as an extra printout in addition to the book. The easiest way to do the flat sketch is to use tracing paper and a pencil. That tracing paper allows you to see the book underneath, and we will start with only drawing one half of the sketch at a time. Then I'll share with you a quick and easy way to make the other half symmetrical. Generally, when I design, I usually start with the flat sketches and then I go to make the fashion illustration. But in this case, I started with the fashion illustration, and this is going to be used on a portfolio artboard, and now I need to make the flat garment sketch. So the biggest difference between the two, once again, is that the fashion illustration has more movement and it has more depth to it. So more wrinkles, more shading to indicate the body curvature. And a flat sketch is more technical. So we need to include things like top stitching or notions like buttons and zippers or any sort of thing that might be important to the technical team to create that garment. So for the flat sketch, I am going to use the 7.5 head croquis. So this croquis is found in the fashion design book. You'll see it there without the heads marked. In case you want the heads marked, you can download the free download through the link in the description and use that as your flat croquis sketch. So the flat sketches that we're using today are from the fashion design book. We use those sketches also to create that fashion illustration as a starting point as well. So these are the PDF pages of the book that I've printed out, and you can also get the PDF book on my website in case you want to have a flat version instead of a version inside the book. So I can start with a few different things. I'm going to actually utilize the full garments and images from the fashion design book. And I probably don't even need to reference the croquis so much, but if I wanted to, I could take my tracing paper. I've folded it in half here. I'm aligning that to the center line of my croquis that I've marked. And I could do a quick sketch in pencil if I wanted to, or I can jump straight to utilizing the sketches in the book. And since I already have a full body image here of the dress silhouette that I used, I'm going to jump straight to that, and we're going to shorten up that lead time a little bit. So here, I'll find the center of the dress here, all the way down. And I'm going to be using my reference of my fashion illustration, and my inspiration was this for these design lines. So I kind of pulled those design lines into the style, and I'm not going to be using the fashion design lines here on this dress. So with the flat garment sketch, we usually just do half at a time for a very technical version of the dress. I am changing up the bottom hemline for the fabric that I've selected, which is a more full body. It doesn't need quite as much drape in there. And I'm just doing half of the sketch at first, and then I'm going to fold over this and repeat the same part on my other half. So let's just do half first. Okay, going to mark the center of that here. I'm also going to mark my shoulders as a guide, my armholes and shoulders. So the body that is here is the same body in the croquis. Now I'm going to jump to the sleeve. And I'm going to utilize that sleeve, the tucked sleeve here. I just made it longer and a little bit more fitted. So I am going to align the neckline here and that armhole as well. So I did make it quite a bit more fitted. And I am able to achieve a better, more tight fit when I have the panel seam on there, which actually I didn't mark on this fashion illustration. Pull it away from there to see the lines, and I will go ahead and mark that panel. We really do want to try to commit as much as we can to the sketch. Don't feather, as my art teacher always said, just commit, no feathering. And we'll take the neckline, which I chose from the necklines here, and get this center nice. Now I want to do my design lines from my inspiration right through the center. Okay, so I've done half of the garment now. I'm going to go ahead and fold it down the center line here. And this is why tracing paper is so nice, because you can see through it so well. I'm going to clear those little reference lines I had marked of the body croquis. So here we have the other half of the garment, which we're just going to trace onto this side. Commit to it using a soft hand, not too hard. So I still do have to do the train, which is going to make it slightly asymmetrical. And we'll pull that train out to this side here. Okay, so this is our flat garment sketch, and this indicates our garment. We usually do not draw in the croquis on a flat sketch for a portfolio. However, we do need to draw the back as well. And you can see that this is getting to be quite big in comparison with the fashion illustration sketch. I recommend tracing this with a very fine tip black marker. And then if you have a photocopy machine, you can downsize this and make it smaller. So in comparison to the fashion illustration sketch, it is reduced. So generally, if you're just making a flat sketch for yourself, there's no need to reduce it. It's more for a portfolio use in order to get it so that the dominating sketch should be usually that fashion illustration sketch. And then we have this sketch here, which is the flat garment sketch and more technical. So here I actually don't need any top stitching because I am going to do a blind hem for the hems, and as well for the upper portion I would have that all faced with a facing, so I don't need to have any top stitching exposed. For the zipper to get into the dress, it will be in the back of the garment more than likely, or it could also be on the side seam. So I also don't need to draw any zippers in. So I'm going to go ahead and trace this, and then I'm going to photocopy it, reducing the size maybe by 60% or so, 50%. I'll see how that looks, and then we'll get to drawing the back. And again, whenever you're using markers, we want to really commit to it. We want with a light hand. We don't want to be pressing really hard, go to the side, of the pen. Don't press straight down. And really lighten up your arm before you start with that marker. We want to really be flowing with those lines so that we're not creating any sort of stopping points. If you do need to erase any lines, make sure that you wait for it to dry to erase. I didn't quite wait long enough right when I said that. It smudged. And we don't need to make the two sides totally symmetrical. We could kind of come down a little bit more here as well over here. It doesn't have to be 100% symmetrical between those drape lines. So you might have noticed that I have not used any sort of rulers in drawing my flat garment sketches. And that's generally because I like to do everything more freehand and not get so stuck up on the rulers. But if you are doing this for a portfolio, you are going to want to practice with the rulers. So I recommend getting your free form down as best as you can. So to use your rulers, this is a French curve ruler, and then we also have a standard ruler as well. It takes a lot of practice, especially with the markers. And the reason why is because when we're turning that curve, we're often needing to join the curve in multiple locations. We often can't get it all in one swoop. So for example, if I'm hitting this here, I have to turn that curved ruler to get the lower portion of that. And I'm trying to match it up exactly with my previous line, which is really tricky to do. So that is a nice continuous smooth line, but it takes a lot of practice to get there. We want to make sure we're doing that when we're doing a professional application portfolio, and do your best with those lines, as symmetrical as you can be and as smooth as we can be. Takes a lot of practice, but I'm sure with practice you'll get better. All right, we'll erase any sort of pencil lines after that marker dries. And we want to really erase any sort of smudging, because that tracing paper really likes to smudge a lot. Then I'm going to go ahead and copy this and reduce the size at the same time. So this is 75% of the scale, this one is 60%, and this is 40%. So really, depending on whatever artboard size you have, you're going to want to imagine two of these there, and it can be either stacked vertically or horizontally, and you have to be able to fit those on there, two of them. So imagine whatever size you want for your artboard. Now, some schools will have regulations on what sizes you can choose, so make sure you check the briefing. And let's say I'm doing a 9-inch by 12-inch, which is 22 or about 23 centimeters by 30.5 centimeters. then I could definitely have a little bit more space. For example, this board here is 9 by 11. So if I imagine including this top yellow portion here, if I imagine my sketch here, then I need to fit this one here and then again here. So I'd say probably this 60% one is good, and I'll go with that one. Now, if you don't need to resize it, you're just going to use your full size scale. Still create your back image so that you can imagine that before you start making that product. So now let's draw the back view. We are going to be taking the front view as our basis and draw the back. In the video I'm about to show you, I've already resized the dimension for my artboard. If you're going to be resizing your sketch for your portfolio or your personal sketchbook, I recommend that you still use the original size sketch to do the back sketch. So in this tutorial, I had used the resized smaller image, and the line thickness is a little bit different when you make the photocopy of the back then, because it's a thicker line. So if you want it to be consistent, use the original size, draw the back, and then resize it with the photocopy machine. So when you're using that tracing paper, the quickest way to get a nice clean sketch is to make that photocopy, because then you can use that to then render it either on the standard paper, or you can even print on marker paper. That rendering process would only be for personal use. For portfolios, we don't render the flat sketches. And even if you're not doing this process for a portfolio, resizing the sketch might be really beneficial so that it fits in your sketchbook the way you want it to. You can always cut out those sketches and place them in any sketchbook. Now, when you are drawing the back of your garments, you can always refer to other garments in your wardrobe. It's great to start understanding how the garments look and start comparing those to the sketches in the fashion design book. Then you'll slowly start to understand how you should be drawing different design details. So I'm going to use the smaller scale. And again, I'm going to pull my tracing paper just because it's easier to see through. And for this, I do plan to make photocopies of it. I am checking the paper as well to make sure that there aren't any imperfections, like any black specks, because that would definitely play into the quality of the image. So I do have a black speck on the other side there. I think I'll be able to miss that black speck. I imagine half of my garment, it's over here. So that's good. We want to center that down the center of the sketch, and we're going to start tracing the back. Okay, so I've marked that down my center here. Of course, you can always mark a center line, but just know that if you're planning to use this for portfolio, you want it to be as clean as possible. So how do we imagine the back to be? We have to think about the back neckline, and of course you can reference the fashion design book for more ideas. You can utilize these necklines for the back many times as well for the shaping and get inspired by what's here. Or we can just go from the lines that are here and we can imagine, okay, we probably want to have something pulling the garment in because we have those lines going in toward the neckline. So on the back, we would probably want to pull the garment inward. So it could be something similar to this back and to the front cutout. We could do something similar to that, but bring it in more so that it's connecting the back so that the whole thing stays nice in place in the front. Now for the back actual drop here, I think I really want to have a nice scoop. So I'm continuing this line down. And of course, this is up to you as the designer, how you want this to look. And I want it to be nice and cut out. I'm going to be playing with those same curve lines in the front, but kind of reversing them slightly. And again, I'm only drawing half of the sketch. And since I have a train in the back, I have to consider where is that train coming from. in the back view. And technically, the back view will have the same outline as the front view. So that's really easy. But we have to consider that that train is probably going to be coming from here. And in this image, it could be that we even eliminate the train on the side view here. If we don't want to show it on the side and we only wanted it to show in the back, that would also be acceptable. So here, so I think I would actually eliminate the train on the front view here and simply cut that off, and we'll make it symmetrical. So generally on flat sketches, we are going more symmetrical because it doesn't consider the movement of the body. So I am going to continue this line and pull it out as the train. And then how long you want the train is also really up to you as the designer. All right, so it's probably hard for you to see my trace line, so we'll be pulling it up just shortly here. I'm going to copy the same exact sleeve. If this gets to be too small to work on, an option to make it consistent could be that you work on the bigger scale first, and then you resize both of the sketches. And that's definitely an option there. All right, so this is where I'm at right now. I am going to go ahead and delete this, and I'll be cutting this out for my portfolio usage. So it actually doesn't even matter that it's there because I can just cut it off. And then I want to fold the back and draw the back, the other half. And I'm going to have a little pleat in the back as well. So that is my back sketch. I would then double check the proportions because sometimes when you open it up, it doesn't look as proportionate anymore. And we need to see the lines if you're pleased with those. I want to have more of a curved line, more kind of like this shape here. It's looking a little bit too flat to me, so I definitely want to have it come out, and as well this upper line as well. I want to have it slightly. So I'll retrace that. Then we'll go through and trace it with marker. I'm going to use my finer tipped marker so that it can be a similar size as that, reduced marker size. And that would be another good reason to actually do it in the full scale first and then reduce both of them together, that then the marker line thickness can be the same. So there is some technical details in the back here that I would definitely have to work out as far as where that zipper goes and how the layering up of the train works with the garment. The portfolio usage, this is sufficient. And it could be better possibly to put that zipper in the side seam instead of the center back. So this entire back is then cut out and the skin is exposed. Give it a couple minutes to dry and then erase it, any pencil lines. Okay, I'll go make a photocopy of that. And I like to take a photocopy because using the tracing paper on the actual artboard for the portfolio is just not as professional looking. So we want to get it onto its standard paper. Okay, so that is my front and my back. We can see that the line thickness is slightly thicker here. So I think in the long run, it's probably better to do it on the full size version, both the front and the back, and then reduce both of them together until you're pleased with the size. So then we need to get this on the artboard. That is the next step. So now it's your turn to practice flat sketches with the fashion design book. Mix and match those style details to create your own unique designs. You can choose from the library of necklines, sleeves, silhouettes for tops, dresses, skirts, and pants, and create a totally new outfit that's complete to your liking. When you start creating new flat sketches, make sure you post them to social media and hashtag the fashion design book. I'm Gina Renee, and I teach online pattern making and design courses so that you can design and sew clothes you love that fit. I hope you've enjoyed today's video, and if you have, please like it and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.